We're at another critical time in human history, similar to the time after 9/11 when America was attacked. And it was on the first week after 9/11 that I started my work as a writer, sending out into the world positive messages as opposed to the hate, the revenge, and the fear that was being spoken at that time. We're in a similar situation today, and it's a good time to review the 8 articles that I published in the paper after 9/11 because the message is still the same today. There's 2 articles that I wanted to speak about. In this first video, I will speak about the gift of reincarnation, and in the next video, I will speak about the article which talks about our spiritual heritage and how it's shared amongst all people. One of the things that bothered me as a young child and throughout my entire life is the inequity that exists in this world. I've seen how the 1% lives, and I've seen how the 90% lives. And I can't understand how churches can speak of a loving God when you see this huge inequity throughout the world. During my search for answers, it took me back to the ancient philosophers, back to the teachings of the different religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, early Christianity. And it was clear for me as an engineer and a scientist that the only logical explanation for the inequity in this world was taught in those 3 religions as I spoke. The idea that we all get the same chances living on this earth, and that one life is not enough to create equality and equity. When I think about the people that I've met who've died at a young age and those who've lived a long, prosperous life, that's where it stands out the most. And so I was drawn to the teachings of Buddha, which talks about a series of lifetimes that lead to perfection, that lead eventually to nirvana. And that's what was taught in the early church. Was taught that we need to become perfect as God is perfect. And of course, you can't expect to do that in one lifetime, especially if you grow up in a horrible environment, in an abusive family, in a ghetto, or even if you grow up in a very rich family with lots of privilege. It's hard to become perfect. There are examples of people in our history who have shown this perfection, that have demonstrated it in their lives. And people call them saints, but they are those who've reached the end of their cycle of reincarnation and who are here to demonstrate to us that it's possible to become perfect, to become noble, humble, virtuous. But it takes time. And if you think about the different things that have happened in your life or in the lives of the people around you, you see from the bigger picture that the world we live in is a school to teach virtue, to teach humility, patience, and all the other virtues, and to teach real faith. And that's not faith in any one religion, it's faith in yourself, faith in your abilities, faith in your fellow neighbor, and faith in a higher purpose in life. If you're interested, you can read the various articles that I've published on reincarnation. It is a scientific theory which exists within medicine. There's lots of evidence that it happens, but it's just logical. And unfortunately, a lot of people deny it happening. In a recent article I produced, talked about the downfalls of denying it. And that is, you get extremists who think that they can blow up a building and then go to heaven and receive grace from heaven. There's consequences that come with everything that we do, and that's what forms the karma that we live through in our next life. So if you see people around you who seem to have a very difficult life, it's easy to say, well, they earned it, but that's the consequence. It's better to think, okay, I want to make sure that I live the best life that I can live so that I don't have to suffer consequences in my next life, that I don't have to be born into an abusive family, that I don't have to fail at everything I do. So think about that, and I'm open to questions. Many people question this philosophy, this theory, but there's a lot of evidence out there. Much more evidence for reincarnation than there is for eternal damnation.